Why are all these people leaving, and where are they going is the big question. And if it isn't Florida or California or Idaho, then it's somewhere else like New York or even Georgia. Side note, we are leaving Florida to go to Atlanta, but we are not moving back to Atlanta yet. Explain. I mean, I'm not saying that we are. I'm just saying.
I was about to say, out of everywhere in the country, Atlanta would not be my next option.
I guess that's the clear answer.
Yeah.
The next move would not be Atlanta.
No.
And it would probably not be, we didn't even look to see the other rentals over there.
Oh, we didn't.
We got to look at the other rentals.
Look at that.
But we are going to Atlanta for a variety of reasons. Mm-hmm. So we are leaving Florida.
Yes.
We are going to Atlanta, and we will be back.
We will be back.
We will be back.
Yes.
And we will be here in the meantime, in between time. People are commenting and saying, man, we really enjoy the conversations that you two are having back and forth. Even some saying, I'm pleasantly surprised to hear Kevin on SquirrelTribe.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And some others saying some other things. But we don't care about them. But what we do care about is connecting with you guys, which is why we have so many channels to bring you guys so many different topics and different sides of us, all being real, all being authentic, as well as Patreon. Patreon is huge, and we got a live stream coming up soon, so we can't spend too long here.
Yeah.
And I know what that means. We'll spend about an hour on this.
And then I still got to do mine.
And then we'll
do that.
We got a lot to do. We got a lot to cover. Oh, we're going to grill? Oh, shoot.
I'm gonna do
Okay.
the chicken and the sweet potatoes.
I'm glad I had that coffee. So, with that being said, people are like, well, why don't you have a morning show? I was actually thinking about that. Like, wake up.
Like Wake Up San Francisco from Full House with Danny Tanner?
But you found out the other day that the podcasts are actually on
No, they are on
YouTube Music, which used to be Google Play.
Yes.
So we need to find that and just make a simple and easy link for everybody.
I can send it to you because I was listening to it yesterday.
So I'll make sure to put all these into the podcast folder. And the podcast was SquirrelTribe and Kevin, the podcast. I think that's what we called it.
Yes, and what's really neat is that if you go to YouTube Music, my hair is like stuck. Okay, if you go to YouTube
Your hair looks really good.
Okay, thanks. If you go to YouTube Music, you can pick the podcast, like you literally type in SquirrelTribe and Kevin and it comes up, and you can either have it as like watch the video just like you can with music videos on YouTube Music, or you can literally hit song and it gives you the podcast thumbnail and then it just plays it. So while you're sitting in traffic or driving and you can't visually watch, you can still hear everything without it playing a video or without it having like if you had to go to YouTube and hit play and then skip and then
because if you don't have YouTube Premium, then you can't close the app and still listen or watch. Now, we got to talk about the elephant in the room, and that is, or at least in this video, 3 major cities seeing less and less interest and more people avoiding the commute or leaving altogether and not planning on coming back.
Are we playing guessing here? Like, am I guessing the cities or?
Yeah, go ahead, guess.
Are they East Coast, West Coast, or no coast?
One East, one West, and one like Midwest.
Okay, so East Coast, then I'm gonna have to go with, I would probably say somewhere in North Carolina. Is it in North Carolina?
That's your guess.
Somewhere in North Carolina for the East Coast. Obviously California for the West Coast. And Midwest, I'm going to say somewhere in... Where's the Midwest? I'm going to say somewhere in Oklahoma. Oklahoma is.
I don't know if Oklahoma falls into Midwest.
I don't know.
Or if it's... I don't know.
Because we went through it, but I can't remember if it's like mid.
Or maybe I got it wrong. Maybe this is not Midwest. I don't know. I don't know.
Did I get any state right?
Well, you'll see soon.
Okay.
You'll see soon. So we said California, North Carolina, and Oklahoma. And so... Because I'm curious, hang on. Midwest states include Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, Nebraska.
Oh, I was going to say Kansas instead of Oklahoma.
North Dakota, Ohio, South Dakota, Wisconsin. So that's the Midwest map.
I can see people leaving Ohio right now. Cleveland.
So
and not going back.
So now I'm wondering, where is Oklahoma? Where does Oklahoma fall into that?
They forgot about Oklahoma.
But anyway, we'll figure that out.
Okay.
It's not Oklahoma.
Okay.
Well, we'll just say
Is it Kansas?
Oklahoma is not
Ohio.
one of them.
Okay. I was gonna say New York for the city, but I felt like that was too obvious.
Well, I mean, sometimes you got to go with
The obvious?
Yeah.
Okay.
And everybody, stick around until the end because I want to share with you a secret behind solving or potentially finding a solution to this insane cost of living crisis that's causing a lot of people a lot of pain here in the United States. And we're going to focus on the U.S. Yesterday, we talked about global, but we're going to focus on the U.S. today. And I would be willing to bet that Montana may be a huge topic of interest soon. And not only because of the recent train derailment at Yellowstone, but for yet another reason that is more shocking than you might think. And you have something very special coming up soon.
Yeah.
But more on that later. Make sure you check out SquirrelTribe. That's gonna be a good one. So first on the list, we head west.
Never eat shredded.
We head west
To San Francisco.
to the not so great state of California, depending on who you are and what you value the most. Because I know sometimes people get all bent out of shape when I talk about California, but
Well, if you're from California, of course.
I mean, you can
There's
be
certain
from
parts of-
California,
there's
but you
certain
can
parts
still
of good everywhere.
You can still recognize how it's probably not the best place to live.
Depends on where. Well, I mean, the state itself has a lot of stupid rules, but
And I haven't heard much mention of reparation checks here recently either.
are you going to say San Fran
Huh.
or San Diego?
San Diego.
Yeah.
San Diego.
Yeah, that was my next guess.
Actually, San Diego was actually originally Saint Diego. Mm-hmm. And I think
You
it
didn't know that?
translates to whale's vagina.
You think the kid can watch that movie yet?
I mean, honestly, really, no one really knows what it means. Or at least I think that's what Ron Burgundy said about
think so.
Saint Diego.
St. Diego. Stay classy.
Yeah. He will read anything you put on a teleprompter.
Yeah.
Anyway, squatters are taking over. And a San Diego woman got a problem because squatters are living in her rental home and she can't get rid of them despite them owing 9 months of unpaid rent. Mm-hmm. The landlord can't evict tenants who don't intend to pay a nickel after a judge rules renters had a verbal lease agreement but nothing in writing. But the judge ruled in favor of the non-paying tenants who are now being classified as squatters.
Well, are they though? If there's nothing in writing and there's nothing to prove that they were supposed to pay anything, all you have is this lady's word against these people who are living there.
What's a squatter?
Somebody who takes residence in a place that's not their own illegally, right? With
I don't know. I'm about to find
no
out.
legal rights.
A person who unlawfully occupies an uninhabited building or unused land. So if the judge decrees that they are legally allowed to be there, then technically they're not squatters.
Exactly. Again, the way they phrase things is
Hey,
designed
hey.
to emotionally make people think a certain way.
This CBS 8. Y'all need to talk to CBS 8
saying.
about this, all right? Now, they said that Barbara Gunner filed an eviction case, but the judge ruled against her twice. How old is Barbara?
I'm going to say probably 60s.
81 years old. Can you imagine having to fight at 81? Can you imagine having to go through this fight? Estimated
Can you imagine taking advantage of an 81-year-old? Look at it from the other side.
Estimated that 6 people are living in her Encanto rental house, which she has owned for decades. And she said none of them have a written lease, okay?
So if she sells the home, then they have to leave because then there is new ownership and it's a legal document that somebody else owns it.
What do you think she's going to get for it without being able to show it and having to make that seller's disclosure that the home is occupied by non-paying tenants?
To the right person, you can make it happen, or to an investor, you can make it happen, or to a business, you can make it happen, I bet.
They took over the property after her longtime tenant died, and she says that it's a terrible thing, but your hands are tied. To do things legally, you have to go by what the judge says, which honestly, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that it's probably because it's California. It's probably because it's California.
They took over after her longtime renter died. So does that mean the person who rented it still had those 6 people living there, and that renter who had the agreement died and those other ones just stayed?
We need to do some more research.
Yeah, I want to know how that works.
Gunner represented herself in the eviction litigation, which she acknowledged was a mistake.
Yeah, I'm like, come on, you can't. Like, no offense, I didn't even go.
Fool me once. But shame on you.
Fool
me. But she got judged ruled twice, so fool me twice.
George Bush Jr.
It all came down to what the judge called a verbal lease agreement formalized when Gunner accepted initial rent payments from one of the tenants. So there's no written lease agreement, but the judge states that there is a formalized verbal lease because she took payment.
But it doesn't mean it's a formalized verbal lease from month to month to month. She took payment at one point, and if they don't have anything written, that could have been payment for however long they wanted to stay.
This is California. See, that's what I'm telling you. The legal system varies state to state, city to city, county to county, San Diego.
And then remember, Illinois did their thing January of this year. Even the police came out and they're like, there's nothing we can do to help you if you live here in Illinois. You should just pack your shit and go, because if somebody broke into your house and was like a squatter, you could not physically remove them. You couldn't call the police on them. The police wouldn't come take them out. You had literally no legal rights for your own property if somebody made their way into your home.
Gunner's husband, Roy, is a retired criminal attorney, and he still doesn't understand the complicated ruling, saying that it's damn near impossible to get anybody out of the house. They come in and tell any lie, and that's enough to squeeze by these current laws in California. Current laws in California, these are his words, not mine. They're taking advantage of the situation. They don't intend to pay a nickel and don't intend to move.
You know, I wonder if they have homeowners insurance. It would be a shame if that house caught fire.
Ooh, you can't do that. But there are problems. I think that there's some problems, and the reason why they're not paying is because there haven't been repairs made, so they're trying to hang that over her head. But honestly, without a written agreement,
why should she repair anything?
Without the written agreement, yeah. So asked if she thinks the landlord deserves to have rent paid, one of the tenants responded, yeah, I'm not disputing that she does deserve to have her rent paid, but there's a way to go about things. And if you tried to forcibly remove someone and you lost in court, then you go back to a starting point and try to resolve that. More time, more money lost. Gunner said the tenants did pay rent for a few months and admitted the house needs repair, and she is preparing to return to eviction court yet again, this time with a retained attorney.
Third time's a charm?
Now, you remember what we talked about yesterday about vacation short-term rentals this summer?
Yeah.
Well, according to Business Insider, it's a cruel, unpredictable summer for Airbnb and Vrbo hosts, or VRBO hosts, however you want to say it.
The commercials say Vrbo, but I think they're wrong.
But isn't there a
VRBO
Vrbo commercial with Kermit the Frog or something?
Maybe.
I don't remember. It's kind of weird.
Was he sipping on some tea? I don't know.
But
Kermit the Frog.
It also might be the new normal. We're getting approaching this new normal, right? And this ties into what we were talking about yesterday with the housing market, right?
Okay.
And what institutional investors, liquidating their single family homes from their portfolios. Like, this is it, okay? For those listening on the podcast, Michelle just held her hand out like she was going to say something, and then just breathed.
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 So I was going to say, maybe these laws are why people are getting rid of stuff, not because there's no renters or because there's no people who want to rent. Maybe it's because they're worried about all the stuff like California, Illinois. If more states are falling into this, screw the homeowner and, side on the side of the squatters, you
got the hotel investors, you got Target, you got Whole Foods, you got all these people leaving. San Francisco, California, a lot of these blue states on the left coast, they are getting out of there, okay, for good reason, and the writing's on the wall.
Do you think if Red took over that the states would do better?
Do better for who?
That's my question.
Now, Americans are still booking short-term rentals for the summer at record rates, but the growing pool of Airbnb and VRB hosts means some hosts are seeing revenue drop by up to 18%.
Wow.
There's more competition.
Well,
Remember, we were talking about the rent? prices, the increased competition, lowering the rent prices, lowering your qualification.
Yes. Now you say decreased by 18%. Well, did it decrease by 18% after last summer? It skyrocketed up 80%. So they're still making way more money than they would have the year before that.
I don't know how much it went up. But you're probably right. You're probably right. You're probably right. But last summer, I bet it probably went up 30, 40% maybe. So it's dropped.
It's still up.
All right, but it's dropped, right? But if their carrying costs have increased due to insurance and maintenance and repairs and things like that, not to mention inflation in general hitting them as businesses and personal.
Yeah.
18% could be more than, it's like the CPI inflation report numbers. There's more to it than what the number says.
4% across the board, but food is 650%. I gotcha.
So more last minute bookings, shorter stays, and budget travelers leave hosts scrambling to book stays. And across the country, Airbnb and VRBO hosts are scratching their heads. Last July, Arizona short-term rental host Jen Kelman brought in $3,700 in Airbnb bookings alone, managing a 2-bedroom rental in the mountain escape of Pine that attracts Phoenix day trippers looking to beat the heat. Now,
you said 3,700?
Yeah,
for the whole summer?
Yeah, and profit. I'm sure this is profit, not just.
Oh, I was about to say that's.
Yeah, not 3,700. Like I'm pretty sure it's profit.
Okay, I was about to say no wonder she's trying to get out of it.
Net. Okay. So now she's starting a more bare booking. She's staring at a more bare booking calendar. No bookings, checking prices daily to stay competitive, and waiting on last minute guests to make up their minds. Which, granted, there's seasonality here because we watched Charlie Chang and how. I take that back. Not Charlie Chang. Charlie Chang, he went to Coachella to interview people who were spending $40,000 for a tent. Whereas Shelby Church, she broke down how much she made renting out her house during Coachella, which she made a killing on. So there's seasonality here, right? Yeah. There was no need to be competitive because it almost was like the longer you waited with a prime property, the more you could have asked.
You know what's weird? I have no problem. I have generally no problem going to like a condo or a hotel or whatever else, staying where other people have stayed. But the thought of somebody I don't know staying in my house and then me coming back in after them, I'm like, ew, no. I don't know why. I'm okay this way, but this way I'm like, hard pass.
It's weird. I know what you mean. But it's possible that the new normal is just more sporadic and not so reliable compared to last year. What are you laughing at?
You said sporadic and my brain thought of a movie where she's trying to use a word and her word for the day. And she says, Paul Rudd says, hope to see you again soon. And Brittany Murphy says, I hope not too sporadically or something like that.
Brittany Murphy.
Yeah, before she passed away. But if you know the movie, you can comment that one. I'm pretty sure I got that right.
She passed away right after Sin City, right?
Yeah, they said it was her heart.
The status quo of post-lockdown travel, where hosts raked in record amounts of revenue and could stay reliably booked with little effort, has officially shifted, okay? This is that shift we were talking about yesterday. Hosts who expect guests to pay top dollar and book months in advance are waking up to a different reality where shorter stays are the norm, last-minute bookings prevail, and slashing nightly rates has become more common.
Now, I will say that whole booking months in advance is harder to do now. A lot of places want people back in the office, back at work. Whereas before, if you were remote working, you could book a month or two in advance because you already knew you could just take your computer with you. Well, now they want you to go back to work and you're like, well, I can't book a month or two in advance because I don't know if they'll let me have this day off. I don't know what's happening over here. So that could have a lot to do with
trying to take days off could literally like seal your fate and
having a job or not.
And that's us too, because we used to look months in advance to book, and now we know we don't have to.
Yeah.
We were actually sitting at the bar yesterday looking at places that we were going to stay this coming week. But at the end of the day, it's a recession. There's increased competition as well, and institutional investors are going to come in and knock the bottom out because they have to, and they can afford to. Whereas, the private mom and pops, dipping their toe in the water, they can't really afford to do that. Ultimately, subsidizing the cost of vacationing or short-term rentals, but at least to the point of which they're not having to cover the entire note.
Yeah.
And, trying to reduce some of that pain. But it's not all bad news. Americans are still
What do you want me to do? Are still voraciously booking.
That was a struggle. Voraciously booking short-term rentals despite economic uncertainty, which we can all agree there's plenty of economic uncertainty.
Hey, question. Are we going to talk about the Midwest city?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought we were like bam, 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 and I didn't know what was happening. I'm sitting here thinking about Midwest cities.
Well, I got distracted. Sorry. We're getting to the Midwest. Hang on.
Okay. East Coast, I'm still sure it's either New York or like Raleigh, North Carolina. That's where I'm
But
at.
travelers this year, however, are noticeably more price conscious. We are no exception.
Oh, got tickets for the moms. They flew Delta from Atlanta to Tampa, and I hate it for them, but they had to get on a plane at 7 a.m. because that was the best price. I was like, listen, it's literally like $150 more per ticket just to sleep an hour longer before you have to get to the airport. Sleep on the plane.
So, a survey from rental site Vacasa showed that 90% of summer travelers this year changed their plans for travel to be more budget friendly, including choosing driving over flying or choosing a cheaper day to travel.
Couldn't do that last year. Gas prices were stupid.
But like yesterday, we booked a hotel, and it was the Avalon Hotel, and the price difference between one day,
was like $60.
$60. So it was
Between
a
a Wednesday and a
$60
Thursday.
difference.
Not even a Friday, Saturday. I was like, what happens there on Wednesdays? Are we walking into something crazy? Maybe there's like some big thing. Ooh.
We shall see.
We shall see. I'll take a dress. I'll be fancy.
Guests are booking the high end and low end, which, again, this was something I discussed months ago about the wipeout of the middle class. But ultimately, they're going to book the high, they're going to book the low, and the middle gets the squeeze, okay?
What would you say we booked for the after Tampa trip? Would you call that the low? Or would you call that the comfy? Because
I don't know how much it was.
Oh, it was $169.
It was definitely low.
Okay.
I mean, upper low.
So upper low. So we had 2 queen beds and a sofa bed.
It wasn't like a Super 8 or something.
No,
like
it was
that.
it was home 2 suites, which I generally like home 2 suites.
But it wasn't a hotel.
But before Tampa, I got that room for about the same price. And that was 4 queen beds.
Now I would say
separate rooms. I mean, it was really nice. This other one, the hotel was still nice. The breakfast wasn't as good, whatever else like that. But it was 2 queen beds and a pull-out couch.
Now I would say that Hotel Avalon is on the high end, but there's a purpose behind it because we're building a complete story around it on how we're actually going to stay for free.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to know more about that, check out Patreon, check out SquirrelTribe Life. But I would say that that's more towards the high end, and we just kind of skipped over the middle.
I don't know what the middle is considered. Because think about when we went to Vegas.
Middle would be Hyatt House, maybe.
That's where we stay for. I don't know. But think about when we went to Vegas last summer.
Oh,
Caesar's Palace. We were able to get Caesar's Palace, y'all. We got Caesar's Palace for like $100 a night for like the first 2 nights, and then we were like, let's stay. And the third night was going to cost us like $10,000, and we were like,
nope. We went to Palazzo.
Same flipping room. Are you like not the same
now,
room, but
we
same
did
place.
look at going from Georgia, actually coming, and go from there to, she's just swinging the door open. It's really weird. Going from there to Asheville, we were going to go to Asheville, go to the Biltmore. But the Biltmore started at like $600 a night.
I refuse.
Went up to
Free
like
or not?
$3,000 a night for one of the cottages.
No.
And then you still had to buy tickets to get in. So we were like, we're not going up there.
I would rather stay at the cheapest place possible and try to live through it.
Yeah, we're not going up there.
I mean?
Yeah, I just wanted to hit that highway.
We can still hit that highway.
Wow, there ain't no other reason to go up there. So we're gonna go to Cartersville. We're not gonna go to Cartersville. We're gonna go to the Savoy Museum in Cartersville. Then we're gonna go somewhere else after that instead. But it says here that in Lake Arrowhead, California, Katie K. Mead manages 7 properties for hosts and said 2 types of properties are doing well: the cheap and the high end. And one of her rentals is a 5-bedroom luxury home with a hot tub, game room, and sweeping views of the lake. It rents for $600 a night. And Mead said it's already booked for every weekend this summer.
You got to think, because the ones that cost the most, generally you can cram more people into as well. The cheaper ones you can put 2 people into, so it's kind of whatever.
But you're still, a part of that K-shaped recovery.
Yeah.
Okay. And the upper end, they're going to keep going up there.
Yep.
On the other end, a fairly basic 2-bedroom rental is getting consistently booked at $150 per night. Though last summer, she said it went for closer to $199 a night. And for the rest of the rentals in the middle, she told Insider hosts and managers are forced to dance back and forth with the market, trying to find a break-even price where it's worth it to rent, but people still see it as a good enough deal. And honestly, from the owner perspective, the investor perspective, it's not going to last long. And I would say expect to see drops in your ROIs.
I mean, think about this from a renter perspective, from you and me. Let's say it's you, me, and the kid, and we're going to someplace, and you can get the 1 king bed and a pull-out couch for $150 a night. Well, she'll do it and sleep on the pull-out couch or whatever because that's the option. Or you can get 2 beds for $300 a night. That's the middle. Or you could get 2 separate bedrooms with however many beds you want and a hot tub and a game room for $400. A lot of people are willing to pay that extra $100 to get that high one, and that middle one's still going to sit there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But then it also depends on what your purpose is for the trip.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. I expect this K-shade to keep going, and everything in the middle is going to kind of be in no man's land. It's a little bit of a purgatory situation in limbo. The purchasing power of guests comes from their expanded choice in rentals. Active listings reached 1.4 million in April of this year, an 18% jump compared to the same time last year. Again, a flood of increased competition. Mm-hmm. And maybe this is by some people just trying to find ways of executing on some side hustle income by listing.
Yeah, I was about to say maybe there weren't as many listed last year. And now somebody who has a house that had the in-law suite says, you know what? Renting out that in-law suite on Vrbo.
Well, let me tell you this. Here's another problem with it. Airbnb arbitrage, where people list properties that they don't even really have just to see if they can get a renter in it. And if so, then they'll go ahead and secure the property.
Yeah.
But then they
Middleman it?
They are a middleman, but then they saturate the market with more listings and greater competition on price because they really have no skin in the game. And they're like, well, if I can make 4%,
Yeah.
cool.
So
I have no carrying costs unless you book.
So you're saying, let me make sure I understand this in case somebody out here doesn't understand either. So what you're saying is there's an Airbnb listed.
I'm saying that.
And somebody takes that same Airbnb and relists it.
Oh, no. It's
for
not.
more.
It's not an Airbnb. It's a completely different property.
Okay.
So we're not duplicating properties on there, but we are increasing the amount of listings.
So like, let's say one of the condos here that instead of going through Vacasa, somebody lists it as an Airbnb to see if they can get somebody to rent it from them. And then they turn around, the lister turns around and rents it from Vacasa, but lets that person go in? Like that kind of thing?
Well, like, let's just say there are some properties available for long-term rental.
Okay.
And you say to yourself, let me put this on Airbnb as a short-term rental.
I gotcha.
And see what kind of interest I get.
And
depending on the interest, then I'll rent it long-term and then use Airbnb arbitrage. But you're flooding it with a listing and a low price that you have no investment in. Yeah. That then drives down everybody else that actually have carrying costs, right?
Okay, I get it.
So, but it says that hosts find other ways to entice renters to book their properties. And this was what we talked about yesterday with these rent concessions. And these will happen with Airbnb as well. And again, if you're looking at these numbers and trying to make a choice and decision on your investment, and you see a listing, a rental price, and you see how many bookings it has recently, it's all fine and good, not realizing that every booking gets free golf cart, free bike, free, something, a concession that doesn't show up in the price.
Now, this is totally not real estate related, but you got to be careful when you look at the stars. If they have 5 stars, you know what I mean? Like the whatever. There's a nail salon. I'm not going to mention the nail salon, but the nail salon would give you, before you finished your nails and whatever else, if you would jump on their website and give them a 5-star review, or on Google and give them a 5-star review, they would take $5 off of your service. Whether it was good or bad, you had to give them 5 stars in order to save $5. So then the person who's looking for a nail salon pulls it up and goes, oh, wow, look at this one. It's got great reviews. You go, they cut your finger off, you can get whatever.
Or they show some mild B-rated movie with kids in there. It's kind of weird. But that's after you had 2 bad experiences. Yeah. As we're going around here and I see nails, I'm like, where'd you get your nails done?
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
I want the personal experience.
Yeah.
Especially as we were not in Destin, we would like venture out.
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
Yeah.
How was like?
Same thing with hair.
Because you can't trust the reviews.
Nobody's touched my hair in like a year.
You can't trust the reviews, right?
Yeah.
Here's the other thing. You can't trust the reviews. I'm reading comments on the computer and YouTube Analytics and YouTube Studio, and it has an option for like the automatic replies, like thanks or appreciate it, whatever. There's another one that says respond with AI. Like AI would read the comment and then come up with a human-like full response, and I just click the button that says respond with AI. I don't have to do it. Just saying.
I could never.
So, Business Insider says that some hosts are playing with algorithms like video games in Arizona, and Kelman is redeeming VRBO power-ups that she's accrued based on performance metrics like answering guests in a timely manner. But I feel like customer service should have always been key.
Yes.
Like, now I will say with the Airbnb or VRBO we had here, that lady was like, she was quick. Like, she was good. You know, she
had in Pensacola?
For Alyssa's birthday.
Oh yes. Okay.
She had 3 or 4 rentals in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
And you know, she was on it.
She was on it.
You know, so that was good. But I think that during the height of it, people probably lost sight of that. Maybe some of these management companies were like, whatever, we can do what we want.
Yeah.
And now you got to get back to what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
Customer service, competitive pricing, which is a good thing. This is the demand destruction that we really need to truly bring down inflation.
Yeah.
Now in Tennessee, Melinda Johnson manages 27 rentals across the Great Smoky Mountains and has some homes sitting empty for previously reliable 4th of July.
We should call Melinda.
She says, we're still struggling to fill July. So here it is, June 25th. Johnson said she has greatly compromised on her cancellation window and minimum night stays, hoping to entice guests who may still be on the fence, which was us yesterday.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what, we're not going to go to Asheville. I said, you want to go to Pigeon Forge or you want to go to Smoky Mountains? She was like, Smoky Mountains.
The hell did I go to Pigeon Forge?
It's right there. It's close. I ain't never been to Pigeon Forge, so I don't know. But either way,
day trip.
Smoky Mountains, there's a restaurant there that I want to go to.
Yeah. Do the barbecue?
We went. Remember we went to the Great Wolf?
Not Great Wolf. Yeah, because that's the first time we crammed the entire family into a one bedroom.
We went to the indoor water park at Great Smoky Mountains, but there was a restaurant
that we couldn't go to.
No, we went. It was down the street. It was really good. I don't remember the name of it. It reminds me of Cheddar's from the outside and the decor, but it wasn't Cheddar's.
And then we went to the place and got the ice cream.
Yeah, so I was like, man, we can go back to that restaurant. That restaurant was good. With that. I got to figure out the name of that restaurant because it was good. Everybody was happy with what they got.
I remember
especially my mom. My mom, she's
picky.
So we were on the fence too, but I don't think we're going to end up there.
¿Por qué?
Because we're going to go to the museum in Cartersville.
Okay. Why does that stop us from going that way?
All right, I guess we're going to have to look at the map, see how we're going to work this out. Now, it says that she has dropped her cancellation window from 60 days to 30 days and minimum nights from 4 to 2. She's making compromises here, okay?
Hotels.com, you just need 3 days.
Oh, yeah?
I'm just saying.
Well, except for the one we booked, we had until the end of yesterday to cancel.
Yeah.
But she believes that the current market won't bend to demanding hosts. But I guess that's because we would fall in that 3-day window.
3-day window. But places like that, more and more people are going to places like hotels.com and whatever else as opposed to this kind of thing because you have a shorter cancellation window. You don't want to book something 30 days out or 60 days out that you have to, and then a tornado says it's going to come through or whatever else.
That's why they're saying they're seeing last minute bookings because you don't book early and have that cancellation window. You book late and know that you're pretty good to go.
I would rather pay a few dollars extra, 2 days before I go than lose all my money if I have to cancel it a few days before I'm supposed to go.
It's going to be a telltale sign this year as we compare last year's Memorial Day or Labor Day. Labor Day weekend, because we were searching for short-term rentals, and you literally wait minutes and they would go away.
They would go away. Anything that we wanted that was on the beach, because the whole family was coming here to hang out for my kid's birthday, and trying to find something good. Every time you looked, gone. It's like, dang.
But also Hotels.com is changing their name.
No, they changed their logo and it looks really stupid.
But you said you read the thing yesterday. They're going to change the One Pass or something.
Not their name, but they're changing their reward system to something called One Pass.
All right, but it says
Key.
It's definitely a value customer this year as far as those who are looking to book. And these landlords, these investors are concerned about the long term. And speaking of Airbnb, Fortune says that Airbnb's turnover has dropped as a company and diversity has increased. And this is 1 year after letting its 6,800 employees live and work anywhere.
I mean, that's a good thing, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Airbnb has seen increased diversity among new hires and decreased attrition 1 year after launching its live from anywhere policy. I mean, it almost kind of makes sense. Airbnb,
Yeah.
So that's working out for them. And also potentially a sign of the times and a bit of a possibility here of good news as we move towards the Midwest state city we were talking about. Chicago has an ambitious plan to convert 5 million square feet of empty office space into affordable housing places. And they're placing a big bet on Airbnb's model, which is remote work. Because they're assuming that these corporate commercial properties are going to stay vacant. So Chicago's once bustling downtown district posted a record high vacancy rate this year, citing the persistent remote work trend. And to revitalize the area, the city has approved 3 projects to turn vacant commercial space into affordable housing.
I have so many thoughts.
While some residents are skeptical, the Reimagine or the LaSalle Reimagine initiative is just one of many creative solutions urban planners are raising to fill the space. And this story is part of Advancing Cities, a series highlighting urban centers across the United States that are committed to improving life for their residents.
You have to send me that because I have thoughts on that go along with some stuff I've already looked at previously, according for Chicago and other places.
So that's funny you say that because my initial thought is, you're right. My initial thought is, you're right. It's not going to be affordable. Okay, it's going to be lower priced, but it's not going to be affordable.
It's not going to be for people, residential people.
And really, what I see it as is just getting out ahead of the multi-trillion-dollar commercial real estate mortgage debt default and widespread bankruptcy that is on the way. But it's not about helping the people and creating affordable housing.
No,
it's about not letting these buildings go to complete shit.
Well, that, and you got to think about Elon Musk bought an entire town in Texas so that he can have his own little factory there, but he also wants to have his own housing for all of his employees. He wants to have its own little baby 15-minute city for him and his employees.
Okay.
They're going to do that kind of thing in Chicago too. They have all these plants.
So it makes more sense to do it now, then bring the plants in.
Yes. Okay. Because you've already got the housing. You already have all this stuff set up.
You got people barking about it.
There you go.
Now, we're going to go east, okay? You ready?
I'm ready.
Boston.
It's not on the coast.
It's on the east. It's east. It's not coast. It's east.
I said coast or not. See?
Lastly, Boston is getting hit hard with people choosing to leave or just never show up in the first place. And according to Boston.com, readers share why they aren't going to Cape Cod this year. And I quote, "The Cape was perfect, and now they ruined it."
Who is they?
When we asked, this is Boston.com, readers if they are vacationing on Cape Cod this year, the majority of respondents said no. According to a report in the Boston Globe, the occupancy rate is 20% lower this season than last, and the culprit could be rising prices, too many listings, reports of sharks, and the infamous bridge traffic, or all of the above. Sharks, they're getting around.
Yeah.
One of them says here, let's see, Mary G from Brookline, who visits Brewster, Wellfleet, and Provincetown, says, "I have visited the Cape every summer for 50 years, beginning when I was a small child, but it is now too expensive and too crowded." But some said it's a tradition they aren't willing to give up. And we vacation on the Cape every summer. Nothing short of a family emergency is going to stop that, is what one guy said who visits a place called Sandwich.
I would like to visit Sandwich. Now, Chicago and Boston are both still on my bucket list, but not for the cities, but for the basketball. I want to go to a Bulls game, and I want to go to Celtics game.
You want to go to Boston or you want to go to Boston?
Boston. Eat some baked beans.
We heard that lady on the cruise ship, and she was like, what were they arguing about?
The arguing. And I was like, what? The arguing. What? How do you spell that?
But for those who said hell to the no to going to Boston, Cape Cod, some of them said the rental lodging prices are too expensive. For many years, we rented a house for the week, but no longer. Lakefront in New Hampshire is less expensive and less traffic. Traffic is wicked bad.
Wicked.
You know they're too crowded, too expensive.
You can't say wicked without my brain playing Mark Wahlberg. I don't know why. From Ted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then Eliza Schislinger, whatever her name is, the blonde chick. I love her. What's the movie that they're in with, what's the movie?
Who?
With the blonde chick and Mark Wahlberg, where she's...
Oh, Spencer Confidential?
Yes, I love that.
I don't know who, I didn't know her name, but I'm like blonde chick, and I'm like, maybe.
She's a stand-up comedian. She's actually pretty funny.
Same house rented since 2006. Owners increased rent over the last 3 years, approximately $4,000 per week to nearly $7,000 per week, inclusive of the taxes. Simply doesn't make sense at this point when we have enjoyed a 2-week stay. But at the end of the day, like, that's true, and that's nearly, 100%. That's nearly like a 2x. But that's kind of like where we're at, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like where we're at. For instance, I think the price, I looked at the F-250 Super Duty from what I bought one for in 2018 or the end of 2017 or 2018, I don't remember. And since then it's gone up like 40%, like 40%.
Yeah.
Prices are irrational and families can't. Well, the crazy part about it, I thought about it was like today, if I was going to buy it for the reason I bought it for then, which was to start a business, would I do it?
No.
Whereas today, if I were to buy one, I would only be buying it because I wanted it, not because I needed it.
Yeah.
So either way, prices are irrational and families can't get into restaurants without knowing someone or having made reservations months in advance.
Well, that's like here. People are like, it's an hour and a half wait for a party of 6 to go to a restaurant. And your brain goes, well, have less people. Or just ask for 2 tables of 3. Like, you're better chance of getting in if you decide to divide and conquer than everybody all at one time. And I think people have to be willing to make concessions if they want to have things done faster or cheaper or whatever else. Like, you can't go out and expect a party of 20 to be sat in 30 minutes. You got to figure out either you're willing to wait 2 hours or you're willing to divide.
But if you're trying to go the frugal route and money savings, cost effective direction, what's the reasonable wait time for, I don't know, Publix sandwich when the person in front of you ordered 16?
Gosh, 14 subs. It was ridiculous. It was crazy. I was like, bro, you couldn't have phoned this in?
It's crazy because I'm thinking about
and
it.
And he had a basket. His dumb ass had a basket. Every time he got a new sub, his arm was like, oh. And then I'm like, it's going to cut off all the circulation. You're going to lose your hand, sir. Just set it on the ground. You don't need to hold it the whole time.
They drew the short straw having to go get him. Like, there's no way I would be.
You say that, but if he had 13 women there and he was the only guy, because unfortunately for you, you were stuck with a whole lot of estrogen for that cruise. I'm sure you didn't mind getting up at 4 a.m. by yourself and going somewhere for coffee.
But, at the same time, the employee, it's like, you're going to make more than 14 sandwiches in a day. But does it really, just blow your mind when somebody says, I got 14? You're just like.
What really sucked for her, and I will say that I was actually happy to see what happened. He put his cell phone on the counter so she could read it, but she'd have to scroll up, right? And you would think, you have gloves on, you're touching somebody's phone, you have to put your hands then into the lettuce and everything else. But she would change her glove out every single time she touched the phone, which is a huge waste of gloves, number one. But at least she did it. Because the first time I saw her touch his phone, my brain went, about to get the hell out of this line. But she touched the phone, and then she took the thing off, put another one on.
What about the guy who asked for the spoon and then dipped it in the cheese? I'm not doing it.
We're never eating there.
And dipped it in the community cheese.
We're never eating there. Just so you fully understand, never happening. We went to this place.
We went to a place.
There was a guy. Broski behind the counter.
There was some cheese and a spoon.
Broski behind the counter, where all the food was, to make the food for anybody that showed up to order food and pay for food, asked another little broski on the other side for a spoon. That little broski went over to another thing, picked up a spoon, was bringing it back, looked at it, pulled his shirt up, put the spoon in it, cleaned it off, handed it to Big Broski behind the counter, to which Big Broski took it, dipped it into the cheese, and then I was
cheese.
like, we're done. Can never eat there in life.
Community cheese. My germs.
These are things you don't, that a lot of people don't think about.
Let me use my strong hand.
Mashed potato. Now I want mashed potatoes. And to watch that movie.
Another one says, I could go to Europe for these prices and have a more luxurious experience, which we thought about that.
I was about to say, it's funny because you sent me London today.
We pulled it up
Last night, today.
We could go to London for 13 days, flight included, and it was less than $5,000.
Yeah.
Two tickets, round trip tickets, and a stay for 13 nights was less than $5,000. I don't even know how they're making any money on that.
Because they're not letting you come back. They're selling your body parts when you're done.
Another one says, too expensive, too crowded, sharks, traffic, better beaches elsewhere.
The sharks thing kills me. Ma'am, sir, you're getting into their home. Shut up. Like, you can't complain about sharks. That's where they live. Now, if they're coming up into your home, you can complain. If they walk up to your door and just barge in, please complain all day long. But you're literally taking your butt into their home. You can't complain about sharks.
I have done it for 10 years and not the same the past 4 years. Too crowded, extra expensive, and we live in the Hamptons.
Ooh. So we're already hoity-toity.
So we're already paying top dollar.
Yeah.
Locals are nice, but seemingly newbies are rude. This is a guess. I don't ask who's a local versus visitor. I just assume by behavior. Just seems people are grasping at an older version but wanting more. The Cape was perfect, and now they ruined it. But as I mentioned earlier in the video, there are, or at least there may be, a sustainable solution for homeowners trying to cope with the insanely high cost of living, and a way to attract vacationers and still turn a profit. Do you know what that may be?
No, but I just had another thought. You skipped Midwest. You went from West Coast to East Coast and didn't hit Midwest yet.
Chicago.
Oh, that's not Midwest.
Illinois.
That's all the way up there.
Illinois.
Huh. I wondered why you started talking about Chicago. I didn't think of it as Midwest. That's why.
Well, it's Illinois, so it's Midwest. I said cities, and you went to states.
Well, yeah, because I couldn't think of any. I felt like I had a better chance if I picked a state. Because
I didn't clickbait you. I didn't click.
You didn't. You're right.
But do you know what this alternative method may be for managing this high cost of living, but also having the opportunity and ability to get a return on investment for vacationers?
For vacationers. Probably social media in some form.
Like no. As far as like real estate rental.
Oh, real estate rental.
Yeah.
Referral fees, kind of thing.
How can you lower your cost?
As the renter?
As the owner. Drop the price for the.
I was thinking as the renter, like, hey, I've stayed here, but then I got 3 people to book, and then they send you $50 back, so it makes your stay would have been cheaper. You know what I mean, like that kind of thing.
But not only for that, but also for homeowners trying to cope with the high cost of living. Like, how could you lower your cost of living? Do you have any guess?
Lower your cost of living. I would say refinance stuff, but that's not an idea right now. No. My brain can't go there. I don't know why.
This one from CNBC's Make It says, I live in a backyard tiny home on wheels for $725 a month. And here is why I'm the happiest I've ever been. What's up?
Nothing.
You can come over here if you want.
We got a kid staring at us.
Now, it says that they live in a $725 a month luxury tiny home on wheels near Boulder, Colorado, right? Mm-hmm. Now, this is Boulder, Colorado, but Montana is another option too. And the reason why I say that is because Eva Zubek shocked me when she said she was moving there. Mm-hmm. But it makes sense, sort of.
She's the one who was traveling around South America?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it kind of makes sense based on her logic and reasoning behind it. So I'll give her that one.
Okay.
But when she said initially, I'm going to move to America, mm-hmm. I was like, United States, like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Where are the perks right this minute?
You've managed to sustain life in that, like, probably. Why would you want to come here? I don't know where she's from. I don't know where she's from, but she's got an accent.
I was gonna say
She's
land of the free, home of the brave, but I don't even know if that's still the thing.
She got an accent, so I'm like, she ain't from like.
She's not from here, definitely.
Why? But either way, I got this article I need to read. It's from PBS. We need to read it together. Cheap Land, Colorado author Ted Conover becomes an off-grid resident in his home state, but it's not all it's cracked up to be.
Okay.
And it says here that, I'll read you a little clip from it. My sister told me she'd been to San Luis Valley and seen a presentation about people living off-grid on bare bones minimum, and people were parking their RVs on the prairie and then adding a plywood addition and getting water from a spring. Others lived in old school buses, pallet homes, motorhomes, or shacks. However, when winter comes, unable to survive the frigid negative temperatures in tents and campers, those who can afford gas often make their way to the nearest shelter over an hour away in Alamosa for a warm place to sleep.
It doesn't sound like a fun life to have to uproot and go stay in a shelter.
Not at all. You know, but in comparison to everything else, like, is it worth it? Is it worth it to actually be able to afford to live there? But then, what are your employment and income opportunities? But it says
internet.
Yeah. He says, I had no idea people were really living like this in Colorado. And maybe you get away with Starlink, maybe.
Maybe.
But it made me feel a little bit ignorant because I think this happens in several parts of the state. Though there are no typical prairie residents, as he makes clear, most seem to want to be left alone. Mm-hmm. Now, Conover admitted that he was naive at first when driving down the long prairie driveways to offer firewood from La Puente. He quickly realized he was trying to meet face-to-face with people who did not really want to see anyone. Mm-hmm. So it's probably not the most
Kill Bill.
Friendliest place, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the guy, yeah.
Where Bud lived, just in the middle of nowhere in that little...
Rattlesnakes.
But one person told him, you know, you're either really brave or really dumb to be driving down a driveway like this. And he goes, I said, probably really dumb.
Yeah. I had somebody comment that people who would say, you know, you need to be off-grid, you know, I've got this many acres and whatever else, and if we see headlights coming down the driveway, we just stand at the door with a shotgun because there's no reason anybody should ever be coming out here. And I'm just like, that's a weird life to live.
Man. Some of them are living that life for a reason. Okay?
Yes, yes.
Now, in 2018, when this particular person says that their marriage of 18 years ended, they moved out of their 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom, 3,000 square foot house and began the search for a new home. The places that they looked at were out of their budget and they had to get creative. And they saw a trend of tiny houses on social media and realized it could be a great way to get the luxury space that they always wanted at an affordable price. Today, they live in a 520 square foot tiny home on wheels that they built for $175,000. And they pay $725 a month in total housing costs, which covers the parking space in the backyard of someone else's home, internet, water, and electricity.
I don't know. Our first house, we paid $130 something, and it was like 2,000 square feet, and we weren't in somebody's backyard, and we didn't have to rely on anybody else.
You're absolutely right. That was 2018.
Yeah.
That was 2018. But today, 2023, that house is nearly 3 times more than what we paid for.
And today, 2023, that 500 square foot tiny home in somebody's backyard relying on their connections to stuff is $300,000.
But she says, now that I have less space, I no longer compulsively throw things into the shopping cart. If I know I don't have a place to put it, I simply won't buy it. Mm-hmm. This mindset shift has not only saved me money, it has helped me feel more gratitude and take even better care of my things. She replaced constant online shopping with buying local and has become more thoughtful about where she buys things that she does need. She says she loves shopping on Amazon, but each little item arrives inside of a package, which is inside bubble wrap, which is inside of a box. All of these things take up space in my tiny little home and tiny little trash can. Mm-hmm. So I used to wheel a dumpster-sized trash can to the curb once a week. Now I have a 13-gallon kitchen trash can and a 13-gallon recycling bin, and that's it. So it kind of like forces you to be...
minimalist.
Yes.
Minimalistic. But she's also a single person from the sounds of it. So it definitely would be much easier in that space with the way she's living than it would be for you, me, and a teenager.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Potentially now. Granted, we have seen families living in vans and converted buses and double-decker tour buses. That was kind of cool. And catamarans. We've seen all of it, right? It's probably going to be a serious adaptation to get to the point of which you can actually do it comfortably. But it says that when she began her tiny home journey, she struggled with the idea of having to downsize, but little by little became less attached to material things, which is in turn gave her a sense of freedom that she never expected. And we're on this path, this own nothing and be happy, but everybody looks at it as a bad thing, but maybe it won't be so much, like just in general.
I mean, we realized last summer how little we really needed to.
Each time we move, we realize.
Yeah, because we still have a garage.
Each time we move,
we need to get rid of, and
it's condensed.
And after the last week on the cruise, we came back here, and I'm looking at my closet, going, "When's the last time you wore that?" So that's that.
Somebody said, take the clothes you don't wear and turn them sideways on the hanger. And after like a week, if they're still sideways, get rid of them.
Yeah.
Or 2 weeks or whatever.
Well, you can't do that with winter clothes in the summer and summer clothes in the winter.
You can if you live somewhere where it doesn't turn to winter.
Have we found that place yet?
I mean, it's pretty calm. It's pretty calm here
in December. It was real cold.
There was like
in December.
a few nights where it was
There was like a few nights where it was really cold.
We're like, Max, do you really want to go out?
Do you really need to pee? Can you just like push it through the fence and like let it fall?
But she says that she learned to truly appreciate the meaningful things in life, time with her kids, space to breathe and meditate in a home that is uniquely her own. Now we do have to go. We have a Patreon live stream, live chat, interactive chat coming up in a few minutes. Please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you made it this far. We really do appreciate it. Make sure your notifications alerts are turned on still because YouTube has been shutting them off without viewers' consent. Yeah, we'll see you guys real soon.
Okay, bye.